Good day. It was time to take out the blown brassicas, so I've just done that. They were beginning to get quite a lot of some type of aphid. I'm not sure whether it was whitefly or not, but yeah, time for them to say goodbye to this bed and say hello to the compost bin. And let's just have a close-up look of what we've still got left in that bed. First off is this verbascum, not a brassica in any way, but I do leave them. I love the mullein caterpillars that come and munch on them, and the flower spike is rather lovely too, so I just leave it. Over here, various weeds and some bindweed coming up. That's another self-seeded marjoram from that clump on the side there. This is one of our, in fact both of these are Portuguese cabbage, I think. Yeah, they both look like Portuguese cabbage to me. This is Taunton Dean. This was munched by slugs or snails a couple of weeks ago after being put in. If I go in there, not sure if you can see, but there's already some aphids on there. I'm going to spray that with Grazer's aphid control. Another Taunton Dean here and another verbascum. In fact, all of these are Portuguese cabbage. So yes, because a lot of what I took out was our Portuguese cabbage, which had crossed with the dazzling blue kale. So interestingly, none of these have got dazzling blue kale strain in them. But these are looking super curly and crispy. I mean, not crispy as in texture because they're soft, but yeah, and that one, there's quite a lot of side growth coming on that one. Yeah, can you see in here? You see the side growth coming. I think that's going to be going to seed soon. But yeah, the brassicas, this is going to continue to be a brassica bed. Oh, look, ladybird. Lovely, lovely ladybird. Happy days. Our broad beans are doing well. In fact, we'll have a look at brassicas in a minute again. There's quite a few weeds in there and I need to get in and pull some out, but some are poppies, so I may move them and I may leave some. Yeah, I think the aphids are definitely coming. Look, can you see the two ladybirds on there? Yeah, look. In there is black fly. Can you see in there black fly? Look, not sure if you can see in this sun, but yeah. Anyway, the sun, as you can see with my shadow, is pretty strong. Excuse me. What I did notice today is that this edge has fallen off. I think it's time to just accept that I'm not going to edge the beds that are falling apart. Going back to brassicas, this is another Taunton Dean, and somebody was saying on last week's upload, don't they get eaten by pigeons? Don't you have to net them? Well, I do in the winter, but don't in the spring. But then when I was down here yesterday, the day before rather, you can see these jagged edges. These have been eaten by, I assume, pigeons or doves, which I don't normally get at this time of year, which is why I don't net. But there we are. That's how it is. Gosh, it is very, very bright today. And then coming over here, we've got brassicas here that are going to be going in. These are Brussels sprouts. These are our Portuguese cabbage crossed with dazzling blue kale, 4 of those. And then I was gifted 6 kohlrabi last week as well, which I was very happy to say yes please to. So yeah, these brassicas are going to go in to the bed where we have taken the brassicas out. And you know what? That's fine by me. I know about crop rotation and all of that, but that's fine by me. What's also fine by me is Mary here is beginning to peek into the shed to see how messy it is. It's messy. Sorry, Mary. Baz is already beginning to flower as well, which is quite apt because Baz's name for mum often was flower, occasionally petal, but mainly flower. And this one I always forget is also coming up, so that's great. But what I am delighted by, look at this. Let me come this way. That is an iris. We were gifted these a couple of years ago. This is the first time they flowered. So gorgeous. And every single one is going to flower. Flower there, there, and then one down here as well. Isn't that just glorious? Look at the colour in there. Oh, happy days. And happy days in here too. Let's just pop in there quickly. That's reading about 34 degrees centigrade, obviously. We've got the slats open, we've got the windows open, well, window, we've got the door open. Oh my god, look at that. What is that? That looks like a stingy thing. Oh, it really does look like a stingy thing. I'm going to see if I can get him out. Using a trusty grape punnet thing and piece of paper, I was able to get it out and let it go free. So where are we at? These are our red curry squash, doing well. Most of our lettuce has been pricked out and planted up. I'll show you that in a minute. Some of the rocket has as well. At the back there, cosmos, I will be pricking that out this week. Cucumbers being a bit slower at the back there, but they're doing fine. Oh, I did notice we didn't have one that had germinated down here, but look, we had 2 that haven't and 1 now has. And then this is our courgettes here, which looking, some of the leaves are a bit yellow, some of the older leaves are a bit yellow, but that's okay for the time being at least. Maybe I'll give these a week feed. Let's just look into the poly. I think it was on Sunday I took all of the bluebells out of here and have planted up rocket up here in the spaces, and over here I think this is outrageous lettuce. There are some slug pellets down in here because I do occasionally use them in here, especially when I plant out something quite so young. They're needing quite a bit of water to get going, but fingers crossed they will get going. And as you can see, we've got a good few weeks of harvest left of all of our overwintered lettuce, which is fabulous. I think that's beginning to go to flower. Yep, I think it is, which is fine. They've overwintered and done us well. When I say overwintered, they were planted in here in the autumn, have sort of went into a bit of a hibernation over the winter months, and then started growing when the days started getting a little bit warmer, which is lovely. This is our Precosum garlic, and if you've watched me over the years, you know that I harvest garlic usually at the end of May, because we have white rot in on this plot, and if I leave them to have full fruition at the end of June, I find that the proportion that come up with white rot is significantly higher. And looking at these now, they sort of look as though they're sort of, you know, stopping growing. I mean, they're not, you know, there's a lot of yellow leaf on there. I think it's down to the amount of water that we haven't had this spring. And I think I might start harvesting these and having them as wet garlic, maybe even this week, because I could use this bed for something else. And over here we've got all of the forget-me-nots in there, and I think if I take those forget-me-nots out in the coming weeks, once some of them have gone to seed, I might be able to utilize this bed in a different way than I had planned. And maybe over there too. That's oh, I can't remember what that one is, but what I have just noticed almost falling over is our snow in summer is beginning to flower. Look at that, you see that? That will be fabulous when it does flower. This is something I definitely want to take when we do move. Anyway. Oh, and I'm going into the sun, I know, but look at that. Look at that rhubarb. It really is rather majestic. Unlike our tub of weeds over here, there's a tub and a half. Well, in fact, there's 3 tubs. There's a tub here, and that is in one as well, which has got weeds. I'm letting these dry out because actually there's such a mix of weeds that I'm going to put them into our you know, fortnightly green collection from home. Just looking at myself on camera, I realised that I'm looking a bit will-o'-the-wisp today, and I think it's time for a haircut. So I will have to try and get into Richard's good books for that to happen. I am going to leave it there for this segment of A Week at the Plot, and I'm going to go over to the compost bin where all of the brassicas are that I took out, with a pair of secateurs and a pair of loppers, and I'm going to be cutting up those brassicas and the brassica stalks for, I guess, about the next hour. But you know what? They'll make great compost if I treat them well. Right, I will see you again very soon for another segment, a second segment of A Week at the Plot. It's Wednesday afternoon now, and as you can hear, the planes are flying. Oh, what's also flying, when I was pulling the brassicas, I could hear a peregrine falcon overhead. I'm not sure whether it was dive bombing other birds to scare them away from its territory, because the peregrines see this area as their territory because they nest on Ealing Hospital, which is half a mile that way. And yeah, I could hear the peregrine falcon, so I had to look up to see if I could see it, but I couldn't see it. But there we are. I don't have my my glasses to see distance on. I just have my sunglasses on, which of course I don't have on in the shed. And now I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to go. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. carrying on with sorting out this front area, I decided to pull up the black membrane that we had down here, and I thought it may be a place where quite a few slugs or snails were harbouring, and certainly there are some under there. Yeah, and I'm going to check this area. Where's my thumb? It's not, no, this area here another day to see if Skanky Frog is there. I think Skanky Frog has moved into the pond, because I haven't seen Skanky Water Frog in the Skanky Water area for some time, and I think it's time for me to sort out this half of the front area. Well, it is. That's what I'm going to be doing. Just doing a little bit today, and you can see there, I mean, you can see the bindweed roots that are in there, pretty significant. But I'm just going to carry on giving it a little tidy now, and I think I'll continue doing more work at the weekend when it's a little bit cooler. We're actually in a period at the moment, a short period, where the sun is behind a rather large cloud. Otherwise, it's been a really hot day. In fact, today has already been registered by the Met Office, the UK Met Office, as the hottest start to May ever recorded. So there we go, breaking records every single month. And we're not even a day into May yet, and we're breaking a record. Hey ho, hey ho. Anyway, I think the sun is beginning to come out now. Yeah, it's brightening up just a little bit. I think it will be getting pretty sunny again shortly, though the clouds are coming in. I think today may be the hottest day of this mini heat wave. It's not actually reached heat wave parameters, or it's not going to reach heat wave parameters of a certain amount of consecutive days over a certain temperature, but anyway, waffling. The reason I wanted to sort out that front bed is I'm really trying to think about slugs and snails this year and where I'm harbouring them, and unfortunately in this area here I had a whole load of wood stacked up against this raised bed, and stupidly I didn't think about this until the other day when I thought, oh, I bet there's slugs behind that. Stupidly I left it there for far too long, took it away the other day, and there was a veritable apartment block, a nursery of slugs clinging to this wood here, and of course destroying the wood. You can see the gaps where we're looking through to the compost of the raised bed. And I'm just going to take you back for a few for 10 seconds or so, back to when I looked at this on, I think it was Sunday morning, when all the slugs were there. Let's have a look at that now. You can see there are loads and loads and loads of slugs. All my fault, completely my fault. So yeah, we're left with this now, and I think I'm going to have to put some slates down on the inside of this decking board. Otherwise, all of this wood is just going to sort of fall apart. I mean, you can see it's already doing that. And that is because I moved the wood away. It had already been damaged by slugs. And then because we've had hot weather, the wood has dried out and it's just sort of fallen out. But there we are. Rookie error. the wood that I took away from the raised bed and also the decking boards that I've just taken away from the front area are all here. It looks as though they're stacked against the shed. They're actually not. There's a 3-inch gap between them. So they're not stacked against the shed as I had them stacked against the raised bed. But I'm going to need to find a place for these at some point soon. Yeah, some of this wood is so rotten, I'm just going to keep it for when we have the bonfire in November. So it could actually go to the back of the plot. But there we are. Rookie error, as I said. And I was just thinking, you know, the other day when we put down those nematodes, those nematodes, I'm doing that to try and reduce the amount of slugs. Yet in other areas of the plot, I need to be careful that I'm not encouraging slugs. And that's when I thought, oh, better take that wood away from the raised bed. And also take that cover away from the raised front area. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. See you again soon. Bye. Good day. Saturday afternoon, and I'm going to prick out our tomatoes today. These are Amish paste, I believe. At the back here, I think these are black crim. Then we've got a Rose de Ben here, just a single one. Isle of Wight yellow at the back, and Mountain Magic at the front, which didn't germinate at all, which I think is the same as last year. Now the problem is, I think I've got this right. I can just about see AM on there, and this is the problem. I really need to use a pencil, I think, because I'm finding that any pen that I'm using is just fainting in the sun and disappearing on these plastic labels. And yeah, anyway, there we are. Right, so I'm going to start pricking these out, and they're going to be going into these 9cm pots. I'm using my pencil. I use a pencil. I find various different tools that I have are good for this, but you know what, I keep on coming back to a pencil. Take the plant by these leaves. These are the cotyledons, they're not true leaves. I've put compost in here and sort of flattened it, but not really firmed it, making a hole relatively deep, lifting that up. Needs to be a bigger hole, and pushing that down. You might not be able to see that. And then in with my fingers. Let's do that again, making a hole in there, that going, get that root in into the bottom of the hole. Now I'm going in with my fingers, gently but firmly. Oh, I love pricking out and putting things into their next stage of being. Just glorious. Where's my leaves there? Let's get that in, get that down, get those roots in. And these are being buried deeper, just a little bit deeper than they were. At the back we've got 6 Amish paste. At the front we've got 12 black crim, or what I think are 12 black crim. Put a black crim label facing that way so I know that those are them, and the Amish paste in that pot so I know those are Amish paste. And as you can see, even though we're only 10 minutes further on, these black crim are looking a little bit weepy at the back, because we've obviously uprooted them and they've gone, oh, what's going on? So we need to make sure, not surprisingly, we give them a really good water. Right, they've had a pretty decent water, but they're going to have another water again in a few minutes, maybe in about 20 minutes. And then these are going to go back into the greenhouse where they were before. I've got the Isle of Wight Yellow and the Rose de Berne. There's only 5 there across those 2 varieties to put into pots, prick out and put into pots. So I'm going to get on and do those. Just a quick look at where the tomatoes are now. So they're back in the greenhouse. It's got quite a bit cooler. There's quite a breeze going on now and the sun has gone behind a cloud. Anyway, Rose de Berne there, Isle of Wight Yellow at the back, Amish paste at the back, black crim at the front. I do think that these germinated plants here are the candelabra primulas. I can see another one germinating just down here. In our parsley we've got some germination here, but not in others. Really finding germination of some fresh seed a bit hit and miss this year. Fresh bought seed. Cosmos, I will be pricking these out in the coming days. Bit of germination of that mixed lettuce there. Rocket to go in. The rest of the lettuce here to go in. There's just 2 plants. The red curry has really come on leaps and bounds this week with the heat, as has the courgettes, and in fact the cucumbers have as well. Just one not germinated here. But yeah, they're beginning to go for it. But of course we're getting cooler weather. Might still need my sunglasses though. Better put them in my pocket. It is feeling quite chilly out there actually. With the sun behind the clouds, it's very cloudy now. With the sun behind the clouds and that breeze across the plot, with a t-shirt on, it's feeling a bit chilly. Though actually we're just back to normal temperatures for this time of year. We have had the last 3, 4, 5 days where the temperatures have really increased, and over the last 2 days it's been really warm, like 27, 28, 29 degrees, something like that. And to then drop to what we are today, 16, 17 degrees, it feels a lot colder than I think it would have been if it had just stayed the same temperature. So I'm glad to have got the tomatoes done. That's absolutely great. I am going to be down tomorrow. It's Saturday afternoon now, so I'm going to be down tomorrow to plant our brassicas in the grow house. Hang on a second, there's, oh no, a hornet came in and I was going to stop him. Anyway, it's gone. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be planting out the brassicas in our grow house. We've got kohlrabi, we've got Groninger Brussels sprouts, and we've got our Portuguese stroke dazzling blue kale cross. They'll be going into the brassica bed, which is staying a brassica bed, which I will weed tomorrow morning, but I'll do that off camera and I'll show you that next week. But I'm really pleased that I've got some jobs done this week. I'm also really pleased, I'll show you it next week, that the climbing rose at the front of the shed that I put in earlier in the year, they're both doing really well and are starting to flower. And I've got a few things now showing themselves quite happily as flowers in the flower border bed as well. So yeah, that's rather grand. That hornet is still hovering around. It's hovering over there at the moment. It's outside, but we do have a hornet's nest not too far from here. Not on the plot and not on the site, but not too far away. And occasionally they sort of come and see what's happening and then usually bugger off of their own accord. Anyway, look, I'm not going to waffle. I'm going to leave it here for this week's A Week at the Plot. I hope whatever is going on in your garden, your growing space or your allotment, you're getting some pleasure from it, just like I am getting pleasure and enjoyment from the plot this year. There's a few challenges still to come. Of course, that heat and then having had quite heavy rain yesterday has really got weeds growing. So I'm going to need to do quite a bit of weeding. I pulled quite a few bits of sankfoil and couch grass, and I had the most glorious bit of bindweed. It was only about 6 inches above ground, but I started pulling it. It was in the bed by the josterberries, in the fruit bed. And I started pulling it, and it came up, and it came up, and it came up. And in the end, I pulled about 1.5 meters of bindweed. Isn't that glorious? Anyway, I'm going to leave you now. And as I say, whatever you're doing, I hope you're getting enjoyment. Any comments, any questions, please leave them down below. Thank you so much for your comments about 5 years of A Week at the Plot. In last week's upload, we're now in our 6th year of A Week at the Plot. How long it will continue, who knows? But thanks very much for your comments. They're always appreciated. And I know some people occasionally say, I watch every single week, but I don't often comment, but, you know, really like the garden or whatever. Thank you for watching, even if you don't comment. And please watch a couple of the adverts. That would be very helpful too. Right, I am going to go. I will see you on Planet Vegetarian as we go through next week for further uploads of A Week at the Plot. And I'll see you on YouTube in a week's time for another full upload. Happy growing. Bye.